There aren't many opportunities to rewatch a show, especially in anime with how important it is to watch what's currently airing, but it's the perfect time to rewatch or watch for the first time Season 1 of ReZero. Advertises the director's cut, although the literal translation is closer to New Edition, which as readers of the web novel and light novel now sadly know means skipped scenes that were important to the story not being added. That's fine. It's fine. It's been the perfect chance to rewatch the show to get hyped for Season 2. Wait. It's been delayed? Wait, so what are they going to do for spring 2020 again? Are they going to re-air this director's cut a second time? Are they just going to keep doing that until Season 2 finally airs? And after episode 10, it made me really focus on Subaru and how he changes for the better. At the beginning of Arc 3, Arc 1 is the loops at the capital, Arc 2 is at the mansion and versus the Mar Beasts, and Arc 3 is the rest of the series. Subaru is in a mental state of self-assurance. He saved Emilia twice, reached a future where Rem and Ram are happy, which was his aim. When he finally arrived in Lagunica, he was shocked when he didn't immediately have a magical power like he read in isekai light novels. When he did find out about his power, returned by death, he wasn't ecstatic by it, because death is a much more painful and scary experience than any piece of media Subaru has consumed has made it out to be. This pushed him to the edge after his final death in Arc 2, as his PTSD and wanting to not die again caused him to push himself harder than he ever had before, to a future where everyone was happy, a future where he wouldn't be hurt, betrayed, or killed. When he did achieve this, Subaru was beginning to see himself as the hero, being rewarded by his hard work with peaceful respite. He had his date with Emilia, there was a cute maid that was doting on him, a lot more like the isekai light novels. What is also important to note that this time of peace lasted for a month. There is a month of happiness for Subaru when he has Emilia and Rem's attention before Felix arrives at the mansion. A lot of time where Subaru reaffirms that he is the protagonist of this world with a lot of little problems that crop up that he can deal with by pretending to be the hero. A month where he sees his desires and the happy ending that he achieved as one of the same. A month where he can leave behind the pain of dying. However, with this mindset, he believes as the hero, he's always right. As the hero, his self-interests align with what is right. But Subaru was wrong. When he arrives at the capital at the beginning of Arc 3, he sees Emilia as his reward for saving her. After all, most of the stories don't the women just fall in love with the men who save the day? A reward for doing so in an unjust world where nothing else rewards them. He then meets Julius, a much better representation of a knight in shining armour than what Subaru is trying to be. Julius, however, does not care for Emilia in the way Subaru does, but as a knight, respects a potential monarch as such. And since we live in a world where chivalry is very much romanticised, it's easy to see how Subaru jumps to the wrong conclusion. He feels threatened he will lose Emilia because someone else is being kind to her, in the first 5 seconds of meeting her, when no one else has. And this really points out how little Subaru believes in himself, because he knows deep down he can't compare to Julius as he's acting, where Julius appears to be the real deal. And also his general greed of wanting to keep Emilia to himself is just a very unhealthy mindset. When Emilia goes to the palace, Subaru is in a state where he feels he needs to prove himself again because of Julius. He wants Emilia to love him, so he feels he must actively do something that could help her, even though he promised he wouldn't interfere with her business in the capital. As Subaru knows nothing of the political delicacies, and the attitude he has shown Emilia up to this point is just too boisterous for the environment she's going in, as well as the fact Emilia has to be the one to show that she's the capable one, not Subaru. But Subaru goes to the palace anyway, justifying it as that Emilia may die and he's managed to create better futures before with his presence, so he should be able to at the palace. He arrives and sees those around Emilia berate her, be cruel to her. You can't handle this injustice, so he jumps to her defence. In all the stories, the hero jumps to the girl's defence when the world is being unjustly cruel to her. What he does notice is the fact that all the candidates have a knight with them. Julius to Anastasia, Al to Priscilla, Felix to Crush, even Reinhardt to Felt. He notes the space is yet to be filled by Emilia's side, so he takes a shot. ローズワール邸の下男にしてこちらにおわす王候補エミリア様の一の騎士 But he doesn't understand the meaning of what a knight is in this world. He can't just bravado his way through a system filled with actual competent human beings with knowledge of a delicate system Subaru knows nothing about. And by trying, he in turn makes Emilia seem incompetent, and as she associates with people like Subaru, not a ruler to be feared. Julius tries to beat some sense into Subaru. Felix even comments that he was being kind. I don't think at this point Felix actually likes Subaru, and he's astounded that Julius would waste his time trying to teach Subaru, and even be kind enough to do so in a way that would keep Subaru's narrative and have Julius be the villain. Then, when Subaru wakes up, he and Emilia have a talk. She tries to understand him, but you can't tell her about return by death because Satella won't allow it. And while that is a horrid fate, he still just wants Emilia to unquestionably agree with him, unquestionably let him do what he wants to do because Subaru believes his input will fix the situation. Subaru doesn't want to help Emilia achieve her goals. He wants to help Emilia so she'll love him, and the only way for her to love him is for him to be the clear reason why all her problems get fixed. Because he doesn't believe him just being himself would do that. He thinks his usual self wouldn't make Emilia love him, because he has such a low opinion of his self-worth beneath it all. That's why he can't take the back seat. That's why he can't let her do things on her own. He believes it is his role in the world to save the day, and Emilia's role is to keep his heart at ease, to love and understand his pain, even if he can't communicate what it is, because he's trying to make her happy. To just give him lap pillows when needed because she dotes on him makes him happy, so surely it must make her happy, right? Doesn't matter what her actual goals are, if she has him. And this leads to what's probably the most powerful line in all of ReZero for me.
Subaru の中の私はすごいね。何もかも全部すべて聞かされなくても分かってあげられる。スバルの苦しみも悲しみも怒りも自分のことみたいに思ってあげられる。言ってくれなきゃわからないよ、スバル。
When the looping begins, Subaru goes about trying to solve the problem to get back in Emilia's good graces. He initially wants to redo things at the capital so Emilia wouldn't leave him, but when he sees all the villagers dead, Ram dead, and Rem dead, he says he doesn't want this. He then dies, and he finds out that his reset point is after he screwed up in the palace. In the next loop, he's a lot more vegetative, clinging to Rem to take care of the problem because he doesn't know what to do. In a way, this is also quite malicious. Betelgeuse asks him why he's phoning madness, implying Subaru is actually purposely acting dumb and indifferent. Maybe he wanted to prove that by him doing nothing results in everyone dying? However, seeing Rem be killed by the unseen hands enrages him, and seeing someone you know who cares for you deeply die in that way is still a very traumatic experience. And then he dies again. He realises him and Rem aren't enough to take out the witch's cult, so he goes to Crush for help to destroy the witch's cult so no one dies. However, in the talks with her, his priority is to eliminate the cult for the suffering they caused him, not to save the village and Emilia. Not to save their lives, but to save himself from the pain and suffering their deaths would cause him. It may lead to the same result of saving Emilia, but the intent is fundamentally different, as he wants to do it to kill the witch's cult and have Emilia indebted to him. During this poor attempt of negotiation, Subaru is not able to come up with any form of repayment for Crush's help. He offers Hidoa a favour, and Crush also tells him that Emilia would have to step down from the Queen Ascension, as someone who can't protect one village can definitely not protect and rule a country. Subaru says that doesn't matter, because this is better than her dying. Crush, however, is still against this, because Subaru shouldn't and doesn't talk for Emilia. He can't force this on her. Once again, he's not thinking of Emilia's needs and goals, and her goal is to become queen. Priscilla also sees this, as when his talks with Crush fall through, he goes to her, and she calls him a pig for only asking for help and giving nothing in return, that he's a leech and he just takes and she destroys any structure he attaches himself to just to make sure he can't take from anyone else. She says no, essentially. Anastasia manipulates Subaru by letting him vent to her, getting interesting details from him of matters she's interested in, which is information of what Crush is doing, as there is a possibility to either make a profit from it or exploit it. At this point, Subaru has given up on fighting, and decides to evacuate Emilia instead of trying to end the witch's cult, mostly due to the fact he won't have the fighting strength, but also possibly because he's taken some of what Crush has said to heart. He's angered when he's realised Anastasia has used him for information, but she does actually give him what he wants, information on a dragon carriage, always the businesswoman. She notes that he is a bad businessman as he never once asked what she was after, and that's the most productive way to get what you want in the end. Find what the other person wants and reach common ground. To his credit, Subaru does take this lesson to heart quite quickly. He meets her on the road and picks up on his desire to sell his oil, which is out of season. So he offers to buy all the oil in exchange for the use of his dragon carriage to save the villagers, as well as the others trade his carriages for what the merchants care about most: money. However, Subaru learns the reason they took the long way back to Roswell's mansion. Every other loop was for no little reason. Once the white whale eats and erases everyone else. I still don't know why it doesn't kill Subaru, because he's meant to be the yummy one. Subaru managed to make his way to the mansion and he finds himself faced with a choice: run away or face Amelia. As the audience, we do think he's grown due to his heeding of Anastasia's advice. His bloodlust for the witch's cult has died down, and his priority for saving Amelia is back in the forefront, along with Rem's death sobering him up. And also because of the fact that he does choose to face Amelia instead of running away. However, when he does enter her room, he tells her to run away with him, not explaining himself again. He doesn't talk about the witch's call. When Amelia tries to calm him down, he tells her,
うまくいかねえよ。うまくいかない。お前はダメだ。失敗する。やれるわけがない。全然ダメだ。口ばっかりだ。救えない。救われない。無茶と無謀を積み重ねて、重ねた無理と同じ数だけ死体の山を見ることになる。それがお前の未来だ。
both to her but to himself as well. He knows Amelia dies here, so she can't save the others, and he knows he can't either. Subaru doesn't try and build them both up now that they're together, but has given up and is trying to drag Amelia down. He demands she runs away with him, and that she'll see that he was right and he'll make it all okay. He's so self-assured that he saves her life, she'll be grateful and reward him with her love, that she'll fill her role as the main heroine and dote over him, the protagonist, no matter what. Subaru hasn't grown, but instead been stripped down. He knows he's not a real hero. He's too weak to change anything, and is trying just to save who he loves most to get as far away from their problems as possible. And in doing so, he doesn't try and change himself for the better. He tries only changing those around him, but not himself, because he's been so self-assured he was right. But now he knows he's wrong. He thinks more along the lines that it's something that can't be helped, and doesn't try and improve from his selfish desires and weak will. He's trying to preserve who he is. If Amelia had agreed with him there, he probably would have made the same offer to Amelia that he does Rem later, to run away with him, just be happy together in a life without big hardship. But Amelia doesn't agree, because she's her own person, with her own desires. Subaru, realizing now that she doesn't automatically understand his feelings, does try, deciding the pain of Satella grabbing his heart isn't worth his isolation, so he tries to tell Amelia again. But fate isn't so kind and Amelia dies for it instead, which once again causes Puck to fill his contract and destroy the world. Wait a minute. All these loops have ended because of Subaru freezing to death, which has been because of Puck, which means that he's the villain of this arc. Oh my god! Subaru has realised he can't do anything. He comes to terms with his weakness and his inability to change anything around him, and that anything he does results in more death. He realises the only way for him to keep going as he is to run away. So he asks Rem to run away with him. He sees he can't save Amelia, but is cruelly aware of Rem's affection for him, and believes if he has that, he can keep going, that they can make a life for themselves far away from the problems that are about to arise in Lagunica. But Rem can't. She loves Subaru for when he is trying his best. She loves Subaru that's trying to save people. She loves Subaru that saved her. She can see that he's making this choice out of cowardice and fear, because he is not laughing about this future, a future where everyone dies. He can't laugh because he knows he's abandoning that and the weak self he wishes to preserve. So if she accepts, if she decides to be with the Subaru she sees before her, she will not be with the Subaru she fell in love with. That's the unfortunate contradiction Rem finds herself in. She can have a Subaru, but it won't be the Subaru she fell in love with. Rem tries to calm him down and gets him to try and explain things, and maybe they can think of a plan. He throws this back at her face, saying he's already tried that and it got him nowhere. That everything he tried to do only resulted in more people dying, and all he was capable of doing was running away. She tells him it's easy to give up, which he explodes at, saying it's the hardest thing to do, that everything he tried to do led him to this, to giving up. This is because Subaru, for everything he has tried, has missed one obvious thing, and the hardest thing, to change himself. Rem reaffirms it is in fact easy to give up, but it doesn't suit him, as the Subaru she loves is the one who sees the future and will stop at nothing to reach it, a future where everyone is happy and smiling. She knows she can't understand his pain because he can't talk about it, but she has seen he has the strength to carry it and will still reach for a happy ending anyway. Subaru argues back, screaming about his true nature, that he was faking it before, that he knew he was weak and didn't try and change himself to be stronger, that he was ignorant of the world around him and didn't try and educate himself, that he pretends to be confident and clever to hide his embarrassment over his failures. That's why Subaru kept failing in this loop. He was so self-assured he was right, always right, that he didn't try and change himself, but tried to change the world around him to achieve the happy ending. But the happy ending in and of itself he envisioned was wrong, as his viewpoint was wrong. He only was aiming for the rewards for himself, where Amelia loved him. He thought he could save Amelia and get her love in return, that she'd never question him because return by death is a traumatic experience, that she'd see the pain, understand his pain, and heal him with those lap pillows. He believed he deserved that because he was aiming for a future where she would live and be happy, that as long as he was aiming for a happy ending the world would bend to his will, because he saw himself as the protagonist, and as the protagonist, his desires where Amelia loves him must be the real ideal of this world, right? That's how it is in all the light novels. Hey, even if you have bad stuff happening to you, doesn't mean other people don't. You can use those people solely to help you if you don't try and help them. Idiot. We all have our own shit. Help one another. But Rem doesn't see it this way. Subaru may have come to terms with the fact that he was aiming to do the right thing for selfish reasons, but when she saw him save her, she saw a real hero. Maybe in Arc 2 he did try and aim for a future where Rem and Ram would be smiling for selfish reasons, just so Amelia would love him, but he still did it. Rem saw different intent in that too, someone who would sacrifice himself when he was clearly the weakest, that he would do the right thing despite all the fear driving him. She can still see it. If there wasn't that good in Subaru, he wouldn't feel guilty about running away and would be able to smile about a future where he and Rem escape. But he does, and he can't. So Rem continues to believe in him, and it breaks her heart that Subaru can't see this about himself, because Subaru would not have gotten as far as he has if he was completely selfish. Subaru goes into a defensive mode to preserve his current self. He says his core is rotten and no matter of acting as the hero will change that his life has made him into a shallow human being who can't redeem himself. Subaru here is the otaku who's realised the world around him wasn't wrong, but he was. He thought, like many, like I have, that the world just doesn't work for him, that he's capable of being amazing and a hero like in all the stories, but Earth was just too twisted to get it. Then he gets transported to another world and he thinks he has his chance, that he's finally the protagonist. He even finds a main heroine who would obviously love him if he can be the hero. And to an extent, he is correct. The first few arcs he's managed to fix without changing his character too much, but he didn't notice there was a give and take until now. The last few loops have taught him, no matter where you are, you have to be the change you want to be. His weakness is the same here as it was on Earth, that he was actually twisted and selfish and weak, that he hasn't been able to change anything because as a person, he doesn't actually want what is right, and he doesn't want to improve himself. He hasn't cared for what Amelia has wanted, hasn't respected her when her interests didn't match entirely his own. He's either wanted a result where she'll dote on him and care for him, or an ending where he could kill those who have hurt him. But he hasn't actually tried to save Amelia while accounting for her interests, because he doesn't really care about that. He thought he could provide her happiness, so even if she couldn't run for queen, that wouldn't matter because she would have him. He's accepted this isn't right and that he's not a good person, but is too scared to try and change himself for the better. He doesn't think it's within him, as he's never tried changing before, and changing yourself is scary and difficult. And then Rem manages to spark the desire for Subaru to change. She tells him, because he feels empty, that this is the perfect time to start over. which is more than apt as Subaru is in a new world, and being in a new environment is the easiest setting to actually let you change yourself. She tells him that he can change, and that she has seen what he can be, a hero. And if it is ever difficult, that they can support one another as they walk their way to a future smiling together. Where the hell did all these doves come from? Jesus Christ! And this gets through to Subaru. He sees that he can't just pretend to be a hero to reach a happy ending and get what he wants. He has to fundamentally be a hero who wants the happy ending. He sees how Rem perceives him and bases that as the template. That if he can become that, with her support, he can make it. Subaru sees himself as weak and small, but Rem sees him as a hero. Subaru is not wrong with the perception of himself, but neither is Rem. Subaru chooses to make Rem's perception of him his new core, a real hero, replacing his own where he pretended to be one to hide his own feelings. Different lenses make different colours come to light. Amelia is Subaru's goal, but now, instead of just winning her, he genuinely wants to make her happy. He wants to be her hero for her. She is what he aims for. He's looking at her. Rem is Subaru's support. She's behind him, pushing him forward in the right direction to make sure he can be the hero that he wants to be and that she knows that he can be. She is his expectations. She is looking at him. While they both begin their resolve in their new roles, when they begin to think about a future where to save everyone, they begin to laugh, showing us, the audience, that Subaru is once again on the right path, that everything will be okay, because as he himself said, let's think about the future laughing.